when all the
So I'ma light it up just like a cigarette smoke till it's in my head, take it all away. Yeah, I'ma light it up just like a cigarette smoke till it's in my head, take the pain away. Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn.
What is going on, chat? How are we doing? Look at my hair. God damn, that's pretty bad. I ain't gonna lie. What is going on, everyone? We are back again with another live stream. You can probably tell my voice, but yeah, we do not feel good. So I don't know. We're gonna kind of figure it out though and push through. Look at that hair. Kind of just woke up from a nap, so I'm not gonna lie to y'all. That's where I was. We get this feature premiere right now, kind of live. So excited about this one. All about storylines. So excited to get into this one, and we're gonna see what we're gonna be talking about. I mean, it's all about storylines. So I mentioned Bob Kendrick will be here. We're gonna have obviously Ramon Russell will be here. So it'll be all the guys be here. Pretty much should be pretty exciting. Should be a good stream. So should be nice. Queen said first stream. I've been able to watch in a while. Yeah, appreciate that, boss. Yeah, we've been going through it recently. I ain't gonna lie, but yeah, if you guys saw my community post or my tweet, we're gonna have the stream today. We're gonna have the video tomorrow, and then a video Saturday. So that's gonna be the goal on all that front. So should be exciting overall. Look, let me watch my own stream. It should be exciting overall, and I'm just excited to get into everything. Not excited to be under the weather, but hey, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Well, we only got 2 minutes, so we're gonna stop talking very soon. We got the water right here, so don't even worry. I'm not gonna be yapping the whole stream, you know what I'm saying? But we're gonna lock in just a second. And they've already released a decent amount about the storylines, so should be exciting overall. Well, we're obviously gonna get more information about the game and probably gameplay a little bit. They'll probably show something in here because we have 29 days to launch, and we don't really know anything about the game, really, which is kind of insane to think about. But, yeah, excited to get into this one. I don't know why they don't call them, like, Storylines Feature Premiere, or, like, they didn't name them like they did last year. I don't really know why, to be honest. It's kind of weird. But it is what it is. We're about to just get right into it in just a little bit. Let me go full cam real quick. Let me turn this off. Turn the music off. And we're going to turn this on. Here we go. Turn it up a little bit. Should be good. Yeah, I hope you're doing good, Acuna. Hope you guys are doing good in the chat. Should definitely be exciting for y'all. Yeah, we only got a minute left, so it should be exciting. Get that over there. Get this over here. Boom, bada boom, bada boom. There we go. Alright, let's switch on over. Here we go. Here we go, baby. 30 seconds almost to go. Alright. All about storylines. About to kick off. I might actually stream storylines when it comes out. I did upload it last year, and I'd rather stream it, to be honest. So I might do that in a live stream. So should be good. Might do that though. I'm not totally sure, but here we go. Let's get into it. You been good? That's good, Acuna. I think everyone's going through it a little bit recently. I ain't gonna lie. But here we go. Let's just get right into it. Here we go, baby. Here's the intro. Okay, cool intro. Hey. All the new players on their new squads. Shout out to that intro. That looks actually pretty sick.
Welcome everyone to another feature premiere here at San Diego Studio. We're talking MLB The Show 24 storylines. We're going to dive deep with an amazing cast and crew with me here today about an inspiring mode full of storytelling about the Negro Leagues and its stars. And today, here on YouTube and Twitch, we're going to dive into some of the new faces, the new legends coming to MLB The Show 24. And with me today, Ramon Russell. Needs no introduction here on the dev team, but Ramon, how are you doing?
I am fabulous. Happy to be here. It's going to be an amazing time talking about Negro Leagues Baseball Season 2 in storylines. And we're also joined by my main man, 50 Grand. You know, my right-hand man in this project, you know, senior narrative designer, Jared. Jared, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm really looking forward to kind of breaking down Season 2. We got a lot of stuff, interesting stuff to share with the folks watching.
And a man who definitely needs no introduction, president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum for 31 years now?
Well, president for now 12 years.
But
my involvement goes 31 years.
31 years, man. Again,
shout out to Bob.
Introduction, the one and only Bob Kendrick. Bob, how you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling great. It's so good to see you guys, and I'm so excited about the 2024 edition of MLB The Show, of course, storylines, the Negro Leagues.
All right, so before we dive into Season 2, let's reflect a little on Season 1. And Jared, as the narrative designer on this mode, talk to us about its impact from last year in MLB The Show 23 as we head into 24.
Well, I mean, impact-wise, we saw a bunch of people who had no interest in baseball playing the mode, I think, for one, which is always a good sign. I think for me personally, I can just speak to myself. I'm super proud to be a part of it. I was honored to be a part of it, and I threw out the word necessary a bunch because it feels like these are necessary stories that any fan of sports, or especially baseball, these are stories of these legends that you need to know, and we're presenting this in such a fun way. I was just really proud to be a part of this.
Yeah, to echo what Jared said, the only thing, you know, we wanted to do when we were working on this mode was tell these stories the right way and really stay true to the ethos of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, which is educate, enlighten, inspire, celebrate the rich history of the Negro Leagues. And also not have anybody's family be mad at the way that we did this mode. So that was really our only goal. But after the game came out and people started to play in it, we saw this amazing groundswell.
Is that true, Cunha?
Amazement and support and surprise. So all of it was very gratifying for us working on the team that, not only did we make something that was really special, we always thought it was special, but it really resonated with not only our fans, but fans outside of the sphere of the core audience for this mode. And the core audience for this mode is anybody who loves baseball and baseball stories. And as my good friend Bob will always tell you, you can't tell the story of baseball without telling the story of the Negro Leagues.
Absolutely, and for all of us,
I'm not seeing it. Oh yeah, here it is.
Baseball Museum, we are over the moon excited about the overall reaction.
That's true.
And the impact.
I'm in for his current 5-year term. This is last. This term ends in January 2029.
Changing for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. It is one of the biggest collaborations that this museum has ever.
He's been there for a minute. I think about that.
Some amazing collaborations. But this has allowed us and given us an even greater mainstream voice into a generation of young people who I'm not sure would have ever been interested in the Negro Leagues had we not embarked on this journey that we've taken. And not only have they become interested, they've fallen in love with the history of the Negro Leagues and these legendary players and the stories that are sometimes seemingly larger than life, but they're true.
They're true.
But they're true stories.
I mean, the 10th commissioner in the league's history.
That's what makes this thing so exciting. And so we've naturally just been super excited. And I've seen this really since the game was released. Countless
start of his term was January 25th, 2015. Damn, that's crazy.
Baseball Museum, because they saw the museum in the video game. And you guys have kind of made me a household name now. I mean, the people are coming and they want to find and meet the guy who's telling the stories in the show. So yeah, no, it's exciting.
Shout out to Bob. We love Bob.
Along all realms, and every aspect of our business operations has grown, and a lot of it has to do with this collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so. Because we had this conversation before, and every time you retell it, one of our goals that was not really said out loud was, we're going to have this relationship with Bob and the museum for a few years. And what was very paramount for us was making sure that whenever we finished this, that we left the museum and these stories in a much better place than before we got there. Because at the end of the day, hopefully, PlayStation, we're going to continue to make baseball video games, right? We can't say the same about these stories. So it was very intentional for us. We really wanted to really make sure that throughout this entire process, when we finish this, whenever we finish it, we left the museum in a better spot than before we did this. And to be able to hear these stories and hear about people who actually drove or made their parents take a trip to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum really just brings everything full circle for us for what this project really was about.
Well, and what it also does is it helps, to me, evidence the fact that this misnomer about young people not caring about history. Young people do care about history, but it is very much incumbent on how it is presented to them. So when we found a way to engage them through a video game, a platform that they were already accustomed to utilizing, and we were
That's a really smart idea to do it, bro.
In a highly entertaining, engaging fashion, it resonated with them.
The storylines was really sick. I liked it a lot.
Not only are they playing the game,
I think everyone can agree it was a W last year.
Information. They are now
sharing
their
dead ass.
stories. I had countless number of parents who told me their kids were going to their little league practices and they were throwing the b-ball because they saw it. Because they saw it in the video game or any of Satchel's assortment of pitches that they learned in the video game. But what was so cool about this was, we gave you an introduction to some of the big stars in the Negro League.
That's pretty cool.
But we also introduced you to some of the lesser.
Call me a girl magnet. This guy, bro.
Good.
This guy.
The John Donaldsons of the world, and kids are telling me about how his slider is almost unhittable, and all these things are just staying with them, and that is why we're so proud. And as a museum, we have to challenge ourselves on how we make history relevant.
You can't see this, but this say drops are enabled right here. So
and so
I don't know what that's about, but I don't know if there's drops you're gonna get in the game though. It does say that.
Relevancy of this history, and I think people are waiting to see what we got.
We got something coming.
Well, that's the best part too. Is that was just season.
So when I read cold, bro.
We know what he was doing. He was a puppy with big paws. We had no idea what the heck we were doing. And what's really crazy when I think about like the first few meetings we had with you, Bob, back in 2020, when we didn't even have a feature, Bob was the only one who saw the light at the end of the tunnel and saw how impactful and important this was from a relevancy standpoint. It's something you talk about all the time about making things relevant. Video games are very prevalent in
I was about to say,
youth.
as soon as the MLB partnered with the Negro Leagues Museum and they put them in the Hall of Fame and stuff, then they were able to like do this so much easier.
I don't think we
it all just connects, honestly.
Understood it, at least from a global bird's eye view of what this meant and what we were doing. But now, a year later, we're now able to look back and go, so this is why Bob kept smiling. He was so happy about this project because it really is about relevancy, and it allows
my Twitter page right now, bro. I know.
A 12-year-old kid or a 42-year-old man
happy
to learn about these amazing stories of triumph over adversity.
I would talk more, but it does
in
hurt.
A new
so
way that's fun and engaging.
Have short bursts.
It was even more heartwarming to have educators reach out to me and say they're
First
going
tweet.
to integrate the video game
First
into
tweet.
their classroom curriculum.
Make history relevant.
That is absolutely amazing. Now, maybe that has happened with some of your other video games. I don't know. But for them to say,
Bob.
I see the true value of what is being taught inside this video game to the point that we're going to integrate it. We're going to allow the kids to utilize the video game to teach history in as part of their curriculum. Man, that's just, again, one of so many instances of the impact that this game has had, is having, and will have, as we continue to do this in the future.
We have a lot of fans for MLB The Show. It's not uncommon for them to stop Ramon or stop a real baseball player, but Bob, they're stopping you, and they're coming and making the Negro Leagues Museum a destination to find you and see you. So talk to us about some of the interactions you've had in the last year.
Oh, I've absolutely loved it. And this
good.
was seemingly almost every day when I make
That's
my
sick.
way down to the gallery. And I love doing that, to meet people, tell stories, and countless number of folks.
It's like a mini celebrity
Number
almost.
one, they could hear me talking in the museum, and the kids would say, "Dad, I think that's the guy from the show," just by hearing the voice. And they would inevitably make their way to me, and they wanted to meet me and learn and talk about how much they're enjoying the show. And to give you, I think, one of my favorite examples of the impact that the game is having. And so I'm taking these guys on a tour of the museum. We get on the Field of Legends, as you know, where the life-size statues are, and Satchel's on the mound. And so as I go through my litany of introductions, I get to Satchel, and I'm telling my Satchel page stories. And, of course, those who play the game certainly know that Satchel had names for his pitches. So he didn't have fastball, curveball, changeup, slider. No, not Satchel. Satchel had his midnight creeper. He had the two-humper. He had the bat dodger. He had the hesitation pitch. He had the long tom, the short tom, the jump ball, the trouble ball, the radio ball, the wobbly ball, the dipsy-do.
He remembers all
And
those,
of course,
goddamn.
he had a pitch that was famously called the B-ball. And as I would typically do, I would always pose the question to my guest, do you know why he called it the B-ball? And so when I raised the question, there was a young kid with his father. Couldn't have been more than 9, 10 years old. And he raises his hand, and he sticks out his chest, and he looks at me. He says, "Mr. Kendrick, I know why Satchel called it the B-ball." I say, "You do? Well, tell the folks why Satchel called it the B-ball." He says, "Satchel called it the B-ball because Satchel says it bees where I want it to be when I want it to be there." And I looked at him. I said, "Man, you must have been playing the show." And his father looks at me and says, "Yes, he's been playing the show, and he's been listening to the stories that you're telling in that game." And it just hit me right
That's
here,
sick.
man. That's exactly what we hope would have happen.
That's
with
actually really
this
cool. I ain't gonna lie.
partnership.
That's really sick.
And those stories are countless. That's just one of many.
By the way, whatever
that has
Ramon's wearing, that
occurred since
jacket is
the
so
release of this
hard, by the
video
way.
game.
It's had
That
an
jacket
impact
is
on
cool.
fans, but Ramon, you've seen it in other ways too.
Oh, there's that hoodie.
It's
It looks
what,
sick.
about a month or two ago, we were in D.C. at Congress, which I don't think any of us ever thought that
Congress.
storylines would have us talking to members of Congress. And
That's
to make a
crazy.
long story short, one of the congressional interns in the White House was overhearing some congressmen and women talk about video games. Now, if you play video games, we all know it's an amazing participatory medium. But some of us think that, they might just be, simulators of violence, which isn't true. Video games are so nuanced. And
That's what I'm
when this
saying,
intern
Ramon.
heard that, he was like, hold on, video games are also a way that you can educate. And I learned about this amazing story in baseball about the Negro Leagues through a video game. So it's more than that. And so that intern even took it a step further, where he made some phone calls. He really spoke truth to power. And we actually had an event with the ESA, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, PlayStation, the Negro Leagues.
And that's
Family
actually
Lines,
sick.
and Major League
Nationals
Baseball,
Park.
where we ran through some members of Congress through storylines and the importance of
That's
educating
sick.
youth and meeting them where they are, because we don't see that a lot in video games.
There is.
Because it's a participatory medium, it gives you the longitude and latitude to do a lot of things. And we've known, at least for probably the last 12 or 15 years, that you can tell really emotional and impactful stories, whether it's a Last of Us or a God of War, any
those games are good.
That really tells these.
That's insane. They wrote to meet people at Congress. That's really insane.
Necessarily seen yet was you can educate. You know, you can tell stories rooted in actual American history, and you can kind of meet kids where they are. So it was a fantastic time. We got to meet a lot of amazing individuals. Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver from Kansas City was there. So many other congressmen and women were there, and it was just an amazing opportunity to have a much broader dialogue about video games and what they're capable of.
Well, and
That's
as you
sick.
can well imagine, our congressional delegation
By the way,
was super excited and very
Rob Manfred
proud
update
of
about
this
off-season.
forward-thinking.
You prefer to have a
that
free agent
this
signing
museum,
period,
the Negro
ideally in
Leagues
December with a
Baseball Museum,
deadline that
has
drove people to make their
engaged in.
deals.
And honestly, I think there were a lot of
That's an
museums
interesting
out there who
take,
were a little bit
because
jealous
obviously like the big names aren't
of what
signed
we've
yet.
done
But
because
I think it should be the end of January.
either they didn't have the capacity to create a relationship.
There's more time.
Like
I think
they don't have those
December is
stories,
way too short
You know, but the fact that we
to
were
make a
out
deal. You only have a
ahead
month
of
and a half
everybody
since the World Series winner.
speaks volumes to again how we look and
Because
try to
most people want to sign
position
before Christmas,
this
let's be honest.
museum for growth, sustainability,
So,
but also in part its
I don't really agree with that. I think end of
because
January would be
it is
perfect.
far more
So in February you get the
just
arbitration
preserving
stuff. Obviously we're
precious
back.
piece of
Spring
baseball
training, everyone's good. Boom, boom,
the
boom.
life lessons
You know?
that stem from this story of triumph
So,
over adversity are just as meaningful.
I don't know if I
today
agree with
than
that
ever
entirely.
Or maybe even more meaningful. And these stories are being gleaned from the video game as well.
Trying to get
So
comfortable
you're
in this
really
chair. It's not
learning
really
from
working.
Satchel Paige and John Donaldson, and Hank Thompson and Buck O'Neill and Rube Foster. But there are these other sidebar stories, these vignettes that are so beautifully crafted that are also, as we talk about, educating, enlightening, and inspiring. Because that really is
Rube
that
Foster, the
quintessence of
GOAT.
Negro League.
I just saw that in the chat.
Inspirational aspect that comes along with this story of, okay, you won't let me play with you, I'll create my own league.
Mm-hmm.
And it just resonates. It was just a matter of finding the right mechanism to get this in front of young people. And I'm just really, as you can tell, I'm just overjoyed, very proud of what we've been able to do.
Agree with that?
Let's talk about the collector's edition for MLB The Show 24. Ramon, we always put a lot of thought into this, and this year, extra special.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
extra special collector's edition. You know, intentionality is very important, and we really took the task of, if we could create a Negro Leagues collector's edition, what would that look like, and how do we make it like extra special? And so we started doing some research, and you know, black newspapers in the 30s and 40s and black writers had a major part in not only informing
See, I didn't
the
even
black
know that,
community
which is
what was
crazy.
going on around the world and in our community, but keeping the story of the Negro Leagues alive and telling the story of black baseball.
So that's
You
why they
know,
went with that on
Major
the
League
steelbook.
Baseball
That makes
probably
sense.
doesn't get integrated as fast as it does without those black
Oh,
writers,
yeah.
like you know, a Wendell Smith or a Sam Lacey, who was very big proponents of integration. And so when we were thinking about that, we were like, well, if the newspapers were important, if these black writers were important, and we saw these old Negro Leagues posters, the thinking was, how about we pay homage to all three of those entities and work on a special collector's edition, and that goes to the steelbook and to the hat. And so
I agree.
this is just the
special
front.
here.
Yeah, this is special. So
That
one,
looks sick.
you
Hot
probably
off the
seen-
press.
hot off
Yeah.
the presses. This is the actual first poster that we printed, and if you've seen the collector's edition reveal, you'll see that there is this really big old printing press, and that is the actual printing presses that were used back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s to make posters and newspapers, and there's only a handful of those still working today. And so you'll notice because you can't see the back, but every single font that you see on this poster has intentionality. Every font we actually pulled from newspapers and old Negro Leagues baseball game posters. And we really wanted to just do something really unique and special that people wouldn't see coming. That's why, you know, it says, you know, discover greatness. That's why we have pride, passion, determination, heroes, pioneers, and icons on this collection.
Why it doesn't,
And
it goes off
probably
consistently.
One of our favorite parts of the poster and the steelbook itself is barrier breakers. That just it just fits, right, Jared?
Oh, totally. And I mean, Beyond Baseball kind of talks about everything that we're saying here today. Is like these stories that we're introducing to people, or that they're learning for the first time. You know, these are stories that take you beyond baseball, and you know,
Like
played such a
deactivate,
huge
reactivate.
point,
That's not
like a
annoying.
huge part in the civil rights movement, and just about, you know, facing adversity and doing something incredible with, you know, in the face of that.
And
Yeah, let's
what's
go with the
also
way-
really
that's
interesting
annoying.
about
So,
that particular
I don't get why it
print
just
there are these
deactivates.
bronze plates, and for every color that you have to have a special bronze plate. So this poster has 2 colors, red and blue. So we needed 2 different bronze plates. And you can't see it on the camera, but everything that you see is actually embossed and engraved into the poster. So we had to run the posters through twice. So as you can see, the first color that we ran the posters through is blue. So you'll only see the things in here that are blue. And I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but you can still, the bar is already here. Greatness is already here. It's already indented. We just haven't added the color into it. So that's the collector's edition poster. This is actually number 1. Stay tuned, because there will be an opportunity for some of our very lucky fans to be able to get their hands on some of these posters.
That's sick.
And that's what the steelbook looks like. As you also know, we always have a hat, and I think everybody who's seen this year's hat, it has been their favorite, and it's
I like
my
the hat a
favorite hat
lot.
too. I love the color scheme. We took one of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum's Discover Greatness logos, and we just updated
we're
it.
back.
We just refreshed it.
This little
I
USB
think
sometimes
it's
disconnects and
just
it messes up my
perfect. We
camera.
also
It's
have the
annoying.
Negro Leagues Baseball Museum logo on the side of the hat, and what's extra special
Oh,
is
the
when you
poster, if you
look
can actually
under
get that, that would be
brim,
fucking sick.
You see all of the teams
The hat's cool as
that have
well.
been introduced in storylines season 1 and season 2. So this was really a labor of love. We did not make a lot of the physical collector's edition. They will sell out. So go pre-order it, because there's not a lot of them that they're going to sell out.
And Bob, what were your first impressions when you saw the cover of the collector's edition dedicated to the Negro Leagues?
Well, number one, the brilliance of tying in.
I would like to get the
press.
poster, honestly. I
Because
think the poster would be
as
better than the
Ramon
steelbook.
mentioned, the Black Press was both instrumental in pushing for the formation of the Negro Leagues, so that it could have an organized body that would mirror Major League Baseball. And then ultimately pushing for the integration of Major League Baseball. They were staging tryouts for Negro League players, and so mainstream media was really caught off guard when Jackie Robinson breaks the color barrier, because this was percolating underground, so to speak, being bolstered by the Black Press. And so to pay tribute to the Black Press is really, really important. We do so at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum inside of our press box theater, which is a display dedicated to those great writers that he mentioned, the Sam Lacey's of the world and the Wendell Smiths of the world, the
Chester L. Washington,
Jeffrey
Frank Albert
Washington,
Young.
yeah, absolutely.
And those newspapers
John
too.
L. Johnson and guys like that who were they were the voices. Had it not been for them, we would know very little about the history of the Negro League.
True.
They documented that history, and it gives a museum like ours now a chance to substantiate what that history represented both on and off the field. And so to me, this was a brilliant way to take the game to another level of education with this mode, and the fact that the Black Press is being recognized so brilliantly.
I think you're going to have to carry a Sharpie with you, too. I think you're going to have some people asking you to sign their hats when they wear them to the museum.
And that's also the reason why the creative is called printed history.
Yeah.
It's printed history. Without the Chicago Defender and the Pittsburgh Courier and the Kansas City Star and those Black writers writing about the Negro Leagues and their struggles and documenting this history, who knows the stories that we would have been able to tell. And also, just like last year, for the Collector's Edition physical, for the MVP edition digital, and the digital deluxe edition, for every one of those editions that we sell, we'll once again be donating $1 to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. And so, that's the collector's edition.
And,
really excited about it.
And the Kansas City Call still produces a weekly African-American paper. They're right down the street from the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum to this day. It still exists. So that's the Chicago Defender and those great black voices, and so it's a tremendous gesture to pay tribute to them.
Yeah, Ramon, team who made this, it takes a village to create something this authentic, this beautiful. You did a great job with it.
Oh, thank you. It was definitely a labor of love. We're tired.
So if that much love and care went into the collector's edition, the cover, the hat, of course, that everyone's seen, you know we've been putting a lot of love, a lot of attention inside the game on Storyline Season 2 and MLB The Show 24. So Jared, Ramon, let's start off with how many new legends we're going to play at launch in Storyline Season 2?
So Season 2, we're going to have 10 legends. We're going to be able to play 4 of those legends at launch.
Yeah, so that's up from 8. You know, last year was 8. This year is 10. But at launch, we're only releasing the first 4 legends. And then in about 2 weeks, we'll release another group. And then in another 2 weeks, we'll release the final 10. We did that for a few reasons. We wanted to give people an opportunity to really let the content breathe and just be able to take your time with the content, because there's more of it, and it's not going to take that long. You only got to wait 2 weeks, but 10 total. So do we just jump in the name that we've heard the most over the last year? By far.
Yeah.
I had relatives texting me about this, we're missing a name from Season 1.
Oh yeah. The one and only Josh Gibson. So we don't want to spoil the content for Season 2. Just tell us a little bit of why Josh Gibson is so important to the story of baseball.
Well, in the echelon of Negro League's history, legends, and lore, he is in essence our John Henry. Yeah, Babe Ruth was like Paul Bunyan. Josh Gibson is our John Henry. The power was almost mythical-like, but it was real. Yeah, it was real. And so I can understand the fascination around Josh. The numbers are staggering when you start to talk about a player of this magnitude. And I talk about it all the time. If there was any such thing as a 5-tool catcher, it would be Josh Gibson, because it's easy to get lost in the power. He wasn't just a great power hitter. Josh Gibson was a great hitter with power. And they don't look at places in the ballpark that Gibson hit the ball. No. They look at landmarks. Yeah, so you see that tree over there? Josh hit one over there. See that barn over there? Josh hit one over there. You know, that's the way that he was seen, and a gentle giant. Yeah,
all right, we're back. I had a quick phone call.
That I've met
That's some good gameplay there.
who knew him, they all say the same thing. He was just a.
They showed off that new stadium, which looks nice.
I
mean,
heck
game kind of looks the same with the UI and stuff.
There it is.
But I think they're on the new PCI.
We could sit here and talk about
Which is
all
pretty
of these
sick.
players till it was midnight, but we don't want to. We don't want to spoil.
Yeah, they said about
actual
4 from the
content.
old one, and they have
So
some new ones
back up
coming
a
in.
little bit, and
That's
a question
fire.
we got a lot last year was, where's Josh Gibson? And so when we're deciding on who's going to be in Season 1 or Season 2 or Season 3, there's a lot. It's an imperfect, perfect, scientific, unscientific method of how we're choosing players. We have to make sure we have not only position diversity, but that's not just for Negro Leagues players. That is for also the live content team. We have to look at that. We're
fair.
also looking at when they played, how they played. And because the story of the Negro Leagues isn't so well known, we didn't want to just throw all of the most known names in Season 1, because we wanted to save some heat. And so that's why you're seeing this staggered release, because if you know anything about the Negro Leagues, the 2 names you probably know about is Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson.
Yeah.
But what we saw last year was that when Satchel gets talked about, now people will know about a Martin Dihigo, Hilton Smith, Hank Thompson. And so when we're deciding on who's going to be,
I think the best ones was
storylines, we want to have more
Page,
well-known, amazing
Robinson,
athletes
and probably Foster were my
lesser-known
favorites.
athletes. And that's not to say that they're lesser athletes or that their feats and how amazing they were lesser known. It's just that most people don't know anything
People don't know
about
who
them.
they are, yeah.
So if we spread out the really big names that people know about, it
But
gives
no
us
idea who
this
they
opportunity
other guys were.
to have the audience learn about a Hank Thompson, Martin DeHigo, Buck Leonard, who we're going to talk about very, very shortly. So there is a method to the madness. Like we know there's other names that you want to see, and we'll get to them eventually. But just know there's a method behind the madness, and there's a reason why, you know, some names aren't included in season 1, but they are included in season 2. And after we talk about all of season 2, there's going to be other names that are going to pop up.
Yeah.
But just know that there's a method to the madness.
Well, and what I love is the fact that by doing it that way, the end user is learning about these legendary stars who weren't as big a profile names. But see, a player like John Donaldson was Satchel Paige's inspiration. Yeah, Satchel wanted to be John Donaldson. You know, and it goes to just show, and I talk about this all the time, every hero has a hero. And for Satchel, it was John Donaldson. He patterned himself after John Donaldson. John Donaldson did the exact same thing that Satchel did. He was a hired hand. You know, everybody wanted to see John Donaldson. John Donaldson was calling the outfield in and sitting them down too. You know, and so, but John Donaldson plays so early on that the contemporaries who became the primary voices of the Negro Leagues, the Buck O'Neills, the Monty Irvins, those guys, they talked about the guys who they played against. So those 19th century guys don't get as much love. But through this video game, I've had just as many people coming in talking about John Donaldson and the slider and how unhittable it was. And the same thing with the great Cuban ball player Martin DeHigo, who you can make an argument might be the greatest baseball player of all time. So they are lesser known, but they weren't lesser athletes. And so the game is beautifully helping people learn about the stars of the Negro Leagues who were, you know, big-time stars, but the guys who were just as good who maybe didn't get as much fame as those bigger names.
These are household names now, Jared.
Yeah, totally. I'm Rube Foster, another one who started, you know, the Negro Leagues, helped found it. That's a name I don't think if you polled everybody on the street nobody would know of, but now I feel like they have a lot more understanding, a lot more information, a lot more education.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
and the beautiful thing about Rube Foster is the rarest of baseball figures. Rube Foster would have gone in the Hall of Fame as a player, as a manager, and as an executive. And you don't find many, if any, that check all three boxes.
Facts.
And so, yeah, it is
Maybe
beautiful
Dusty
that
Baker.
folks got to learn about this guy because, number one, there would not have been a Negro Leagues had it not been for Rube Foster. But his profoundness wouldn't take a back seat to anybody. But people don't know. But again, you don't know what you don't know. And through this video game, people are getting an opportunity to know.
And the second athlete in the first drop of season 2 is going to be the Thunder Twin teammate of Josh Gibson, the one and only Buck Leonard.
Ooh, man. Smooth, swinging.
Providence Grays.
Hit him. He hit him with 400, man, when he was 40 years old. Could flat out rake. Yeah, he is that rarest of Negro
It's a
League
normal
players.
PC on your
Negro
mind.
League players, they jump from team to
Shame's
team.
kinda cool,
They went
though.
where the money was, but not Buck.
Change the perfect
Buck stayed with one
font.
team. Pretty much his entire
Looks nice.
Negro League career. He turns down an opportunity to go to Major League because he knew he was too old. But that combination of Gibson and Leonard, so you couldn't separate them. So it was brilliant to have them in the game together because that may be the best duo in baseball history. And no one knows this.
Nobody knows.
That might be the greatest tandem in baseball history when we talk about Buck Leonard and Josh Gibson.
Bob, they were compared often to counterparts in Major League Baseball, right?
Well, Josh Gibson, of course, compared to being the Black Babe Ruth. And of course, Buck Leonard compared to Lou Gehrig. And sometimes people are offended by these comparisons, but you have to understand they were trying to help you understand by relating it to a Major League contemporary. It was no slight on those black players' part to be considered the Black Babe Ruth or the Black Lou Gehrig. But the folks who saw them play think that they may have been better than Ruth and Gehrig. And
That's
Buck
crazy.
Leonard was as great a fielder, and they, again, not to share too much and take too much from the game, maybe the greatest fastball hitter this sport has ever seen.
Now let's talk about the number 3 person who needs no introduction in our first 4, the legendary Henry Aaron. And you're probably thinking, wait, Henry Aaron's already in MLB
Already
The
a
Show.
legend.
However, like you always say about what you don't know, is that Henry Aaron's career started in the Negro League.
In the Negro Leagues, 1952, with the Indianapolis Clowns. And if my smile got a little bit bigger, it is because Henry Aaron is my all-time favorite baseball player and my childhood idol.
Stadium's sick,
as a
too.
kid growing up in Crawfordville, Georgia. Crawfordville, Georgia, y'all, is east of Atlanta, west of Augusta, all of about 500 people.
That's not a lot.
No. All of about 500 people, and every day on the playground when we played sandlot baseball back then, we didn't even call it baseball, we called it hardball. I wanted to be Henry Aaron. I had to be Henry Aaron. Now, I'm sure some other kids wanted to be Henry Aaron, but I had to be Henry Aaron. And so this means a great deal because there are still so many folks who don't know that his illustrious professional baseball career began in the Negro Leagues. And he is just one of the many examples of those who transitioned from the Negro Leagues and went on to greatness in the major leagues. But he's an example of the kind of talent that was there in the Negro Leagues and had the doors open sooner.
Bro, the chat is unreal sometimes. Oh my
Who
god.
knows what the record books would have looked like. And so when people discover that a guy like Henry Aaron comes out of the Negro Leagues, it is mind-boggling to them. Number one, that they didn't know, but how great he was at the major league level. And as I remind people all the time, if Jackie Robinson doesn't break the color barrier when he does, 1947, think about all the great stars we would have missed. We'd have missed Henry Aaron.
Thanks.
And we'd have missed Ernie Banks. And we would have missed Roberto Clemente possibly.
Yeah.
You know, Bob Gibson. Can you imagine our sport without those legendary stars? And if you can, you can imagine what
That's
it was
pretty
like
crazy,
before
actually, now I think about it.
1947. What I'm trying to say, y'all, is they didn't learn how to play baseball after 1947. They were playing great baseball well before 1947, but Henry Aaron is one of those who got an opportunity to cross over the bridge that was built by those players in the Negro Leagues, and it was that older Negro Leagues player that took care of a young Henry Aaron and a young Willie Mays and a young Ernie Banks and nurtured them because they knew they had an opportunity to get to the show. And they wanted to make sure that there was nothing that would prevent them. So no, there was no ill feelings about these young stars or these young players who became stars in the Negro Leagues. Again, you might have wished that it had happened in your prime so that you would have had that opportunity, but they didn't really begrone the fact that these players were getting an opportunity. They were pushing them out of the nest, I guess. So
I like that.
Yeah, they were pushing them out of the nest. Go get it. Go do it. And the beautiful thing about it is Henry Aaron never forgot those guys. He never forgot those guys.
That's fire.
And again, I tell this story all the time. Every time I was around Mr. Aaron, I was reduced to the almost 12-year-old kid who, when he hit home run 715, and it's interesting that we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of him breaking Babe Ruth's record. When he hit home run 715, in Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium, I'm at home in my parents' living room. And as he's circling the bases in Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium, I'm circling the bases in my mother's living room. So she had an old couch that was first base, the old TV was second base, the other old couch was third base, and her recliner was home plate. And so as my childhood idol was touching them all, I'm touching them all too. And I get to share that story with him. And most of us have sports heroes. And every now and then when we meet them, they don't live up to the lofty expectations that we've put on them. Henry Aaron far and away exceeded any expectation that I had, or as I like to say, this kid from Crawfordville, Georgia had. And so I am just thrilled that we get to help people understand where it began for Henry Aaron.
Mm-hmm. And something that doesn't get talked about, not nearly enough, is, you know, the hardship and racism that black baseball players faced after Jackie, including Jackie, didn't end for quite some time. Henry Aaron dealt with a lot. Read up on why his mom ran on the field when he broke that record. It will surprise you the real reason why she did that. And it's very shocking.
Bob, from Josh Gibson, Buck Leonard, now Henry Aaron, you mentioned some of them got their shot at major leagues because of the time they were born, but they're all in the National Baseball Hall of Fame, recognized for that.
Yeah, those are all former Negro League stars who are now enshrined in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Satchel was the first to be inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame for his Negro Leagues career. Now, Jackie was in the Hall of Fame, but Jackie went in for his Major League career because he only played so briefly in the Negro Leagues. Henry Aaron is in the Hall of Fame, but he went in for his Major League career because he, too, was very brief in the Negro Leagues. But that makes us proud that they are slowly but surely getting the long overdue recognition that they deserve. And I can assure you that there are still a number of Negro League stars who should be in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. It is our job to continue to advocate and help educate people about them in hopes that one day they will cross over that threshold into baseball immortality, because it is not the museum's intent to be a Hall of Fame. We are a museum, and it was far more important for us to preserve, celebrate, educate people about this history than it was for us to create a pseudo Hall of Fame when you know that you're going to have a finite number of people that you can induct into your Hall of Fame. And so when Buck O'Neil was broached with the idea, he said, no, let's do a Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. There's been enough separation in the game of baseball. If you're good enough, you deserve to be enshrined in the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and that's been part of our mission to continue to advocate for those players so that hopefully they will be included at some point in time in the National Baseball Hall of Fame there in Cooperstown, New York.
Well, those are three names that will go down in baseball history, and our fourth storylines legend that we're going to focus on in the Negro League storylines also plays a really important part and really was the encore to once Henry Aaron went on to the major leagues, this legend took over. Bob, do you want to introduce our next legend?
Well, people are surprised to learn that the ball player that took Henry Aaron's roster place when he was signed away by then the Boston Braves was the legendary Tony Stone, one of 3 women to play professionally in the Negro Leagues. And I love the addition of Tony Stone to MLB The Show and the fact that she was such a tremendous pioneer. But don't get it twisted, y'all.
His jerseys look sick.
She was more than just a pioneer. She was a ball player. And she took great pride in the fact that she was a ball player because she had to earn the respect of those other players. Because you don't just step on the field and, also their fear of taking a job away because you are just a woman. And I'm sure that's the mindset that some of them carried until she proved that she deserved to be.
She fast, 88 speed, goddamn.
Her inclusion in the game speaks volumes to her elite talent, but also the fact that the Negro Leagues created a platform that would allow this to happen.
Bro, someone said we got female players before GTA 6, bro. What the hell?
Wonderful display inside the Negro Leagues Baseball.
Chaz unreal.
Aptly called Beauty of the Game, that celebrates the 3 pioneering women, with Tony being the first, Connie Morgan and Mamie Peanut Johnson. And every so often I'll have people come in and say, one day a woman will play in the major leagues. And I'm looking at them shaking my head like, no. The one day has happened.
Yeah, it already happened.
We're waiting for it to happen
again.
But as you can imagine,
I've said anything about sets? Nah, they're just talking about how storyline's going to work. They're having 4 returning legends, and I think they said 6 new ones. I think.
The spark in their eyes. You see,
or 4 new ones and 6 returning ones or something like that.
Dreams of possibility.
No, they haven't talked anything about sets.
That's really what the Negro Leagues did. It fueled the dreams of so many black and brown players that they could play this game professionally.
Just been talking about the Negro Leagues and storylines.
Now for women to now dream.
I didn't really expect to get much intel on that, to be honest, Trey, but we'll see.
And it's going to happen. Mark my word.
Probably in the Diamond Dynasty when we'll get some more information.
Yeah, so this has been Storylines is a very hard, amazing project.
If they do it again, I think they're gonna fix the problems with
inclusion
it,
of Tony
or they just
Stone.
might get
We were
rid of
thinking
it.
about
We'll
this
see.
last year.
It's kind of like the
There's a
Immortals in
reason why
18. Like it was a
in
good idea on
our
paper.
introduction of
Execution was
Storyline
trash.
Season
People didn't
1,
like it. They got
last
rid
year,
of
you
it.
say
It could be
men
something similar like that.
and women. We were already thinking about
we'll
Tony
see.
last year, but we couldn't
We'll see.
include her. It took a tremendous amount of work by the art team and a lot of individuals to get Tony into the game. Because as you know, Major League Baseball and MLB The Show, you can't play as a woman. So this will be the first time in MLB The Show that you'll be able to play as a female, and it's Tony Stone. We had to start with Tony Stone. It only made sense.
Yeah, I don't even know the
Like you
two other
said, she was
players,
the first woman
to be honest.
play regularly with the men in a professional men's league. And we take a lot of pride and care with all of the athletes that we introduce. But Tony was even.
Someone said Ted Williams
even
funny
had
in
to
World War
go
II. That's the
even
storyline,
further.
bro. Bro.
And we all know why. I don't need to harp on that. And so
wrong with these people?
a lot of attention to detail. A lot of attention to detail. Her family's been amazing to work with. We stay in contact with them constantly. They've been a part of every update. Like, because when we first got Tony's head back, we sent it to them. They're like, no, this is wrong or that is wrong. And you have to remember, for 15, 20 years, however long we've been making video games, our artist has never had to create a female face. And creating a female face in a video game is not the same process as creating a male masculine face.
Yeah.
Her hair sits a certain way in a baseball cap. It has to look a certain way. And her family had a very, very specific feel of how they wanted Tony to actually look, and Jared actually has a story about that.
Jason was in contact with her family, and they really pressed and they wanted, first of all, they're like, well, she's not smiling in any of these images that we're seeing.
and we had to tell them, like, these are just the base images, because when we're reviewing heads, it's just a profile shot, and it's just a bunch of camera angles. We're like, why is she not smiling? It's like, oh, we're sorry, we should explain. During this process, all of the players have this stoic look on their face, but she'll be smiling in game.
Yeah, and then the second thing was they really wanted her to be wearing her.
And by the time we had his introduction, goddamn.
Wear when she played, but they were adamant that it really showed off her unique character, and it just makes her in the game even that much more special. And so when we were able to do that, I was like, this is really, really cool. Yeah. I think one of the other cool things that you'll be able to experience inside of the mode is in the videos. In addition to hearing Bob speak about Tony Stone, you'll actually hear from Tony Stone talking about her experience as well, and how she was treated, and she calls herself a tomboy in there and everything like that. It's really interesting when you kind of have that ability to hear from that legend about their experience.
Yeah, Tony's storyline, like I said, you can't pick. It's like trying to pick your favorite child. Tony's is just extra special. They're all special, but Tony's storyline is extra special, and we had to make it extra special. It's the first time we're doing this, so we had to come correct, or it was gonna be hell of a hay if we did.
There's so many little details too to get this right. I mean, you think about like commentary for one. We have to replace all the pronouns that they usually use when they're talking, about like, well, he hits it to left field or something. So we have
to add in she.
Yep, we have to get those things right. So there's so much. I think I'm very proud, and I was last year, and I talked about this too. Our attention to detail and our authenticity. And I think bringing Tony Stone into it, we had to step that up a notch, and our entire team, our entire studio across the board was ready for it. And I'm just blown away. I'm just very proud.
So for the first time, you'll be swinging a bat with a female in storylines in MLB The Show, in these moments that you'll be able to play, learn about Tony Stone's career as well, right alongside our other three legends right at launch: Josh Gibson, Buck Leonard, Henry Aaron, and Tony Stone.
There we go. That's the lineup.
Everyone's going to be able to play at launch. These storylines legends with more to come.
With more to come at launch.
In MLB The Show 24.
Yep, and you won't have to wait long, just 2 weeks, and then the next 3 will drop, and in another 2 weeks, the next 3 will drop.
And what you said is true.
Okay,
like, it gives you that
interesting.
time to sort of sit with these stories, and you're not just rushing through, but you actually get to like take your time to enjoy
marinate.
it.
You let it marinate,
Let it marinate.
I think that is important to kind of, we want to treat each, and with us having more legends this year, we want to treat each one and make sure that they get their shine and that each one of these storylines feels like a celebration of their career and of their life.
Well, based on the reaction that I had from so many folks who played the 23 edition, they were clamoring for more players and more stories. So you ask, you shall receive.
You shall receive in due time. We wish we could do more, but it takes a long time.
It's actually true. The cards don't see set
So one
per
thing we
core,
haven't talked about,
so it may not
is
return.
the
That is true.
improvements to the mode.
I don't know if those were the
and
cards
we're
though.
Going to try to stay out of spoiler categories, but from feedback and research, the mode is going to be a little bit easier. If you get stuck on moments, because some of them were still too hard. We thought we were not making the mode hard, but some of those moments, probably in hindsight, like the Hank Thompson home run, yeah, we know everybody struggled on that one. Probably was not our finest moment.
Thought facing Satchel Paige would be hard.
Yeah, probably not our finest moment. But they're a lot easier.
you tell
and
they're all
even if
rookie,
you are still
so.
struggling to get past a moment, you can skip over that moment to continue the story and the education lesson. The videos themselves, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised at the improvements there. We're using a new tool that makes all of our historical footage look even better. It's amazing. You know, we're all in our second year of doing this, and so we've learned so much.
Yeah, this is going to be live action.
The motion graphics is better. We have a more amazing color palette that Malik has chosen for each player. The editing is even better than it was last year, and we thought it was pretty darn good last year. You're going to see defensive moments for the first time.
Jared, with environments too. Like we had some new stadiums last year in 23. Remind us, how many new stadiums did we have last year in storylines?
We had 4 last year, and season 2, we're gonna take one of our stadiums that we introduced last year with Forbes Field, and actually we made some updates to it. We gave it that upper deck and right, and really make it feel like more authentic to the time period that it's in. So I'm super hyped.
It's kind of cool.
We've done such a good job laying the groundwork in season 1, and now season 2 we can really even make stuff even better. I mean, we have one more stadium that we didn't talk about too.
Oh yes, please.
Greenleaf Field, where the Pittsburgh Crawfords played, and
interesting
Bob
outfield.
tells the story in there. The Crawfords weren't around for a long time, but when they were around, they were very good.
They were outstanding, and the city of Pittsburgh had 2 of the greatest, not just black baseball teams, but 2 of the greatest baseball teams in baseball history, with the Homestead Grays and the Pittsburgh Crawfords. Or I guess I should say 2 of the greatest baseball franchises, with the Homestead Grays and the Pittsburgh
We're up
Crawfords.
to the Pirates.
And so it's going to be fun for people to learn about those 2 storied teams as well, because they were impressive.
His uniforms are known too.
Yeah, so as we mentioned,
that.
Tony Stone and Henry Aaron, they both played for the Indianapolis Clowns. So at launch, you'll have 3 Indianapolis Clowns uniforms. And when we're talking about the Thunder Twins,
looks sick.
Josh Gibson and Buck Leonard, you know, the Homestead Grays, you know, and the Pittsburgh Crawfords. So you're going to see 6 Homestead Gray uniforms and 4 Pittsburgh Crawford uniforms.
It was baggy, the style, the unique. That was all new last year too. Brand new tech.
Yep, bringing that back.
And it was amazing. I mean, you could almost feel the wool in those uniforms. You know, that's how amazing the work that was done. I mean, the artistry behind this is that you could almost feel the wool.
Seems to be great. Can't wait.
And it was just amazing. Every detail was absolutely well thought of and thought about and treated with such care.
So there's so much to look forward to as a fan of MLB The Show 24 and storylines. And Bob, you know, what's the one thing that you want the fans to know about that they should be excited and looking forward to?
Well, again, based on the just meteoric reaction that the game generated in 23, and the fact that I was pleasantly surprised by how many people said, we want more stories. We want more stories. And so they're going to get these dynamic players, and they're going to get even more stories associated with these players. And I hope they enjoy them as much as they did in the 23 edition. And I look forward to seeing a whole lot more folks coming to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum wanting to meet the guy who's telling the stories in the show.
That's
Bring
funny.
that hat with you. Ramon, what about you?
It's simply complicated, and I'll explain. When we were working on storylines, the first go around from 2020 until launch last year, we were just trying to not mess it up. You know, that was probably definitely the biggest fear of mine was I don't want to be at a baseball game or anywhere and have somebody's family member come up to me and they feel a certain type of way that we didn't talk about their family member in the right way. That we really missed this amazing opportunity to do something special. And that was never our intention. Our intention was the same intention that the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum has, and that's why our ethos for this project is educate, enlighten, and inspire. And so it was a terrifying 2.5, 3 years working on this, and it's never been about
3 years, damn.
It's always been about the work and the process. And so going into year 2, you know, there's a lot of pressure to, can y'all do it again? Because we stumbled upon something by just doing the work. You know, we created something special by never saying, hey, this is going to be special, by going down the road and doing the work. And it's one thing to like win Rookie of the Year, but after you've done it, how do you do it again? And it's very easy to let outside forces and your own ego and thinking get in the way of the process that got you there in the first place. And so we had to be very diligent to make the same decisions and have the same thought process in season 2 than we had in season 1, which I didn't really think about until we started working on it. But it's very easy to get in your head and say, no, let's go bigger here. Let's do this different. And all throughout this entire process with Jared, Gavin, everybody on the team, it's, hey, you know, we're doing the exact same thing and approaching this project the exact same way we approached it last year. We know what our goals are, and we know where we're trying to go. And every decision that we make has to be in service to that goal. If it's not in service to that goal, we don't do it. And that really helps keep egos in check, because it is a thing when we all have egos, well, no matter how big or small they are. So it's really easy to get off of the railroad tracks when you're working on a project. But if everybody's going towards the same goal, then it makes those decisions easy. Like my good friend Jared here, when we put together the vertical slice, which got this project greenlit, I didn't even know Jared's last name.
And I think we had met before, so it was like really weird.
Like we had maybe 2 total conversations, period. But we just ran with it. And even now, 2 years down the line, we've never had an instance where either one of us has felt like something wasn't done the way that we thought.
I gotta use the bathroom. Hold on.
Because it's never really been about necessarily what I think or necessarily what Jared thinks. It's always about, is this in service to educating, enlightening, and inspiring? So that's been the hardest, most difficult, and most, you know, kind of rewarding thing about this project, is trying to stay the course again, because it's very, very difficult. And working with Jared and Bob and everybody, it's been so easy, because all of the decisions that we make, and we're luckily, knock on wood, we've been able to make the decision, all of the right decisions for the betterment of the franchise and storyline.
But you know, I still feel the same way about this release as I did about the first, because you know, you're close to it, and I want people to love it.
We're back.
Don't know if they will, or in the case that they would. And of course, the first iteration of the game, people fell in love with it. And I know there were some naysayers out there. I mean, I read all my social media. You know, people say, "Oh, ain't nobody gonna play this," and then every time somebody would say that, so I can't wait for this to come out. You know, and
go let Bob know you love
this.
this.
Yeah, exactly. And so you still have that same level of trepidation. And for me, you know, as someone who thought he could play a little basketball back in the day, If I didn't have butterflies when I walked out on the court, then I probably weren't going to play well. Wasn't going to play well. And I still have those same butterflies as we prepare for the release of this, because I want people to love it. I want them to feel it, and I know they will, but still, that is still right there, kind of in the back of my mind and in my heart, because that's what this thing means to all of us at the museum. So, but I am very hopeful that people are going to love even more what we've done this time around.
And Jared, what's the one thing?
Yeah, I think just we're keeping that level of authenticity, attention to detail, like as sharp as we can, just to make sure that we're getting the stuff right that we can. And I think for me personally, what I'm like most looking forward to is I remember going to the All-Star game with my dad in Pittsburgh in 1994. So that was 30 years ago. But I remember them doing an announcement for Buck Leonard being one of the honorary captains for the National League, and hearing that name and being like, man, I do not know who this. I'm a 10-year-old kid. I have no idea who this is.
Yeah.
And then asking my dad about it, him explaining it to me, and then starting to do a little bit of reading when I was a little kid about this, and then 30 years later, getting to see him
full circle.
Into the
That's crazy.
Game is like a full circle moment for me. So I'm so excited for people to, and his story is incredible, and the moments are really, really fun. So that for me, that's the one thing I'm super excited about. But overall, just taking a moment to celebrate these first four, and then the 6 players we have following, and just really, this is a celebration, and I'm just happy to be along for the ride.
Yeah, Storylines is unlike anything else in MLB The Show history. We're going to continue pushing that this year, no doubt.
Sports games, period.
Or sports games.
Yeah.
And I think you're seeing all the
Quick
labor
little
love
flex.
from the printing press Ramon showed you with the poster, to the hat, to what's in the game that you're going to play in these moments. You're going to hear Bob's voice again on all these legends.
Yep.
Again, a total of 10 through MLB The Show 24 that will be released, 4 of these storylines at launch. And, I love that we're building on the stories from last year, Bob, that you told us of Satchel Paige and all of the others who laid some of the foundation. And you're going to see some of those return. I think we can confirm all the legends of last year's storylines are back in MLB The Show 24. You'll see them in all the same places. And they'll be a part of these stories, and we'll learn more about even the likes of Henry Aaron. How can we learn more about someone that famous?
Oh,
And we
just you
will.
wait. Oh, just you wait.
So, let Bob know you love this. Follow him.
That's really
What, NLB Prez, right?
Yeah, at NLB, I'm Prez.
There we
and
go.
PREZ.
And again, we're going to have so much more with feature premieres here on MLB The Show 24. Make sure you're following us on
All right.
X,
That's
on
it.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Sign up for that scouting report. It's a great way to learn about all the latest news. You can go to theshow.com, our website, to do that. And Ramon, we're going to have so much more on these other features, but storylines, so special. That's why we spent so much time. And Bob, it is a true honor spending another couple of hours with you here today at San Diego Studio. So thank you from our staff. Thank you to Jared, the dev team, and Ramon. Anyone else we want to thank?
Everybody who worked on this and played it. We really appreciate all the support. We're still flattered with just the response of this mode. It really was a labor of
I loved
love
it,
for
bro.
all of us.
It was
So
really fun to play.
It's been very gratifying, and we're hoping, crossing our fingers, and I feel very confident we're going to be able to do it again with season 2.
Phenomenal. So remember, pre-orders are open. Collector's edition, physical digital, digital deluxe, standard edition. We can't wait for you to play this. Most importantly, experience this. The storylines of Negro League's season 2 is coming to you very soon.
Wow, supplies last. Not a lot of
We'll see you soon.
There you have it. All right. So we got a decent amount of information in that stream. So we have 10 new legends at launch, or 4 new legends at launch, 3 come in the next 2 weeks, and then another 3 come in the next 2 weeks. So pretty much by April, we'll have all of them in the game. And we have all the old ones coming back too. So that's a ton of them. I forgot how many were in MLB The Show 23. I kind of want to look it up right now. Show 23 storylines. Because I forgot how many there are. How many? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 guys. And there's what? There's going to be so many more this year. There's at least 10. So we have 18 total, which is pretty insane, honestly. That's kind of wild, if we're going to be honest. They did show a decent amount of gameplay. They did tweet it out. I did tweet it out as well. If you want to go look at it. But that's pretty much the info we know. We have those 4 to start off. And then we're going to have 3 new ones every week. And it should be pretty exciting. Let's go to the YouTube one and rewind back. Because I want to go through when they showed the cards again. Because some people were saying they didn't have the core thing on there. Some people were saying that. But they didn't really show it like in Diamond Dynasty. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't really know. The posters were really cool. I did like that a lot. They were putting those ones up. Let's see, right here. Okay, right here. Alright. So back on here. This is what they showed, this little graphic. So we have the 4 to start. Then we have 3 new ones in 2 weeks. And then another 3 new ones in 2 weeks. Which will fill it out, which is pretty cool. And they have the 14-day mark right there. So you're going to have a lot of time to invest and really get into it, which I think is pretty sick. I'm not going to lie. I think that's pretty cool overall. And then they showed the cards. I want to bring that back up again if I can find it. I'm not sure where it was at, to be honest. They did show them all. Another pretty cool graphic. Not sure where it was at. But it was somewhere in here. Some people were saying they didn't have the core. Some people they say they did. Let me see. Should be around here, no? They showed all of them off. Come on. Can't find that, John. But it's all good. They did show. Oh, here it is. I found it right here. Yeah. So people were saying they didn't have any core or set 1 on these, but because these look like the actual cards that you're going to be in Diamond Dynasty with. So, because you got the team right here, you got the name, the position, obviously, the barrier breakers. So, there's no core set 1 or set 2, whatever, in the top left. So, I don't know. We're going to wait and see on that one. But really liked what I saw today from everything. It looks good. I mean, it looks good. So, we're going to have what? We're going to have 18 stories instead of 8. So, 10 new players at the end of April, which is pretty insane to think about, not gonna lie. So that is very exciting. Next week, I imagine they'll do this at the same time next week, at 3 p.m. Pacific or 6 Eastern. I think they'll do it at the same time. Next Thursday, we'll be live for that one. Should be pretty exciting on that front. And yeah, I mean, a lot to look forward to. We don't know what the next one is. We just found out about the storylines because they started tweeting it yesterday. So that's what we found out. Overall, really sick. I'm really excited for this game. We're only like 29 days from launch, so with early access, of course. So going to be pretty sick. But yeah, that's the first feature premiere done. So we got a lot to learn about the storylines. Wonder how they're going to announce the next 6 that are going to come out in the next 3 weeks. So what if they're going to do like a little like a showcase or something? We're going to wait and see on that front. But if you guys do enjoy the stream, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. We'll be back next week for another feature premiere. I imagine it will be about franchise or road to the show, if I had to be honest, just because road to the show they can show more gameplay, which is what people want to see, so we're waiting to see on that front. But yeah, if you guys do enjoy the stream, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, go check out the other videos on the channel. I already told you guys about the updated schedule. Tomorrow we'll have a video, and then Saturday we'll have a video. Saturday will be about this, so everything I covered will be about this. But if you guys do enjoy this stream, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everyone.